Howdy, y'all. Welcome to Hayes and Barrel Craftworks here on the Hayes and Barrel Homestead and our humble whiskey room. I'm the Alchemist. Happy Hump Day. And once again, I want to thank you all who've been checking in on me since I was not feeling so good last week, and for all the well wishes again as I recover. And I want to let you all know that today, finally, I am starting to feel a little bit more human and feeling a bit better. So today, on this Wednesday, I want to continue my whiskeys that remind me of fall. We started Monday with peated Scotch, Elements of Islay, that had a special place in my heart. And today, although this is not a Scotch, it's not from the Isle of Islay, it does have a backstory that is from the Isle of Islay. And so I felt it quite fitting to throw in this week for my fall whiskeys. And this one is High West. And as the story goes, David and Jane Perkins, who founded High West, they were on a vacation, I'll call it a vacation, on the Isle of Islay, and they were staying at a bed and breakfast on Islay. And while they were in that bed and breakfast, they smelt the delicious smell in the air of smoked whiskey and sugars just boiling down, and those smells were just so inviting and smoky and sweet as they were sitting there at that bed and breakfast. And then they went on their way during the day, and when they came back to that bed and breakfast, the host of that bed and breakfast served them this delicious, sweet and savory and smoky syrup that was being made during the day or during that morning that they could smell in the air, served over a wonderfully sweet honeydew. And that was so delicious and so memorable for David Perkins that he decided that he wanted to make himself a whiskey that had these flavors embedded in that whiskey. And this was the inspiration for this bottle I have in front of me right now, High West Campfire. And you can read on the label of High West Campfire that it is a blend of straight rye whiskey, straight bourbon whiskey, and blended malt Scotch whiskey. And that blended malt Scotch whiskey is a peated whiskey, but it's an undisclosed distillery. So we don't know what distillery was used for that peated Scotch that's in here. But what I could find for the blend of straight rye whiskeys is that it is a 95.5 MGP rye, as well as High West's own 80% rye whiskey blended in here, and then also MGP straight bourbon whiskey. So this is quite the blend in this High West Campfire. So let's see what we've got in our Glen of High West Campfire. Now, right away on the nose, it's not as peat or smoky forward as the Elements of Islay that we had earlier this week on Monday. But there is a very nice, subtle hint of that smokiness that I really enjoy from a peated Scotch. And there are some nice hints of a rye whiskey in here. There are some spices, but I'm not going to really call it really forward rye spices. To me, it's more it's kind of a combination of a blend. I'm going to call it more, what kind of nutmeggy and rye spice blend in this. It's not just a straightforward rye like one usually would get on a high rye whiskey. And then some nice toffee notes on this. Right out of the blend without taking my usual sips in the beginning. So now let's take a sip and see if that opens up my nose a little bit and see what I get on the palate. Right away, the first thing I notice, I like the mouth on that. Nice viscosity, not super viscous, but it really felt nice. And it gets you right on the tip of the tongue. A little more citrusy than what I would have thought, because I didn't pick up any citrus on the nose in the very beginning. And the sweetness on the nose is more subtle, like a toffee, but the sweetness on the palate, honestly, is a touch more caramel and vanilla, I would have to say. And it sips easy. It's not too hot. I didn't take a look at the proof right away. 96 or 46, I mean, so 92 proof. So not very high proof on this one. So it does sip quite easy. And on the finish, the complexity is quite nice. I'd have to say the caramel all the way through. Again, it's more toffee than towards the back, and the caramel richness is again on the forefront of the palate, a little towards the mid palate on this one. And again, that surprising citrus is just on the palate, and I'm not getting that on the nose. And that mixture of the cinnamon and rye spices is more on the palate, with a nice subtle nutmeg on the nose on this one. That viscosity that I mentioned earlier is more just on the beginning of this. It loses it as it goes back. And that campfire, that smoke, quite subtle throughout. You get a little bit more of that peat from the Scotch blend in here at the back end of the palate. It comes in on the finish, and it rests back there, and that subtle toffee sweetens it up a little bit, and it's a very nice blend at the end of this one. And I like to use this this whiskey, this High West Campfire, with a sour mix that I use. I make a smoke and fire sour mix. It's got a nice hot pepper spice in the sour mix. And that goes well with this really slight smokiness in this whiskey as well. And the smokiness that I put in that smoke and fire sour mix as well. And then the sweet all combined makes a really good sour mix. You put an egg white in there as well, and you shake that up good to get that foam on there. Makes an excellent whiskey sour as well. So overall, this is, to me, a good whiskey of fall for this week, and a good addition to this week's whiskey list. So as you all know, I'd love to have you all coming back around. So please hit that like, subscribe, and the bell. And please take it easy. Don't drink and drive. Cheers.